All right, welcome back to Soul Spark Tarot. I'm your host, Mr. Renew, and today we got our Yap session. So, our overall energy today was the Eight of Swords, and with this card, I think it's showing a really nice picture. It's painting a really good picture on the seasons, the times, and this space. Currently, you're in a space and you feel like you're surrounded. To me, this is coming off as all eyes on me. And this is supposed to be the yap, but I feel like I want to yap about this because I'll just yap and relate it to this card. But so you can have a visual, in other words. But I want you to pay attention to her feet. If you look at her feet, I've never noticed this before until right now. So even though I sound confident, I just saw that. But her feet are in two positions, just like with the star and just like with temperance. So I know I talk about tempering a lot on this channel. The card comes up a lot, and balance also comes up a lot. And it's always the balance of two different things. There's no such thing as the balance of one thing. When you have one thing, you have to change what you're seeing. And the way to change that is to use a different word. So harmonizing, that's a better word. Unionizing, that's another better word. Unification, I didn't want to use the same prefix, but you can see where I'm going with this. The balance between two is different from the balance between one, like it is the same for a balance between three. Which means that there is also, by default, a balance between none. And that is the opposite of all three. So if I had to help you understand this, this is just half of a circle. I mean, this is basic geometry, but you can put three triangles in a circle. You can put two squares in a half circle, half circle, three triangles, half circle, two rectangles or squares. And the idea is it's never going to be one thing because the half circle in and of itself, when you just get to 1, 3, 2, 1, it's just half of a whole circle. So this is that balance aspect behind temperance and everything that I do and I talk about. It's helping us to see that we are the ing. And because we are the ing, we have to understand that those mechanics work differently. Whenever you're shifting from one place to another, that shit changes. It alters how you have to see things just because you took a step. And this is the idea of just taking a step. Take a step forward. Like, I've been lost a lot in my life, man, because I've had to do this shit on my own, I feel like. And there was always things that was available to me, but it was never the things that I wanted. So I was always grateful. I was always respectful. I was always the things I needed to be. That even led me into negative situations where I realized that I can't be the things that other people are being. We're all being told the same shit, but I'm not being treated the same way for acting the same way. So, because of that, like, it helps you understand that, oh, there's differentiation, but I'm still doing the same thing. I'm still following the same rules. I'm still living through the same programs. And so, because I need to live through those things as the person who was, it's hard to shift from that position as the person who is versus the person who is not. On the other side of was is two different things. Because you have two, it's twice the energy. This is what we call an integer or sliding on a scale. In order to go from -1 to +1, we have to move through what we call zero. And zero is a what I call a space holder. I don't like to say it's nothing. Always say, what do we call no thing when I'm teaching? Well, when I was teaching, and even when I'm doing it now with life coaching, what we do is we show you that there needs to be a neutralization first. There needs to go from -1 to 0, a space called even, a space where my maximum area for negotiation. I'm not crossing this line. Nope, nope. You're going to have to pull me over, convince me this is as much as I'm giving you. And then you got to leave space for the other person to do the same. But when we cross these thresholds or that 0, when we polarize, when we change, when we hit that point of change, that middle point, even though I'm at this person's maximum, it is my minimum. So that shit is heavy for me. Same thing when you jump to the other side. But because we are making a leap, we don't feel the same way about being in a old space, but with way more responsibility. We don't see it that way, but that's what it is. It's the same shit you've been doing with way more responsibility on it, but now for some reason your mindset has changed, so you don't even see it like that. You don't even consider it. That is what change is. That's what perception is. But that perception comes with the changing of time. So different parts of you are grown through different parts of time, and you can alter those time frames by simply increasing the frequency. And when you increase the frequency, it's going to change your vibration from, wow, I don't care how heavy it is, to, damn, I'm tired, damn, I've been doing this, damn, all of that, I'm sick of that, damn, I ain't got the time. Like, it's always going to be something looking at you as you're making your change. But you got to keep in mind that you're tempering the changes, or in other words, you're accepting the flow between two different points of views. Now you're dependent on a different viewpoint. It's forcing you to change you. Because again, if you're being double teamed 2 against 1, you can't treat it as if you're a one-on-one. And then if it's 2 against 1, you're probably thinking, is there another one, or a third one, or a fourth one, or a fifth one? So again, in schools, the way they're teaching you, they're telling you this is like monos, like a monocle. And then you get into your bis and dies, right? Which is 2. And then you get into your tries, which is 3. And then you get into your quads and your tetras. That's 4. These are names for things. And I'm telling you what these things are. These things are zeros, or space holders. A 0 is a space holder. It holds the space. So when you have a 0 in the number 2000, the 000 is holding a space for the ones place, the tens place, the hundreds place. And now that allows you to take on a new perception of what we call the digit 2. And instead of calling it just 2 things, it's 2000. Still the number 2, but because you're holding different spaces in different places, literally place values held by a space called a 0, that's literally it. That allows us to view that repetitious digit called 2 in a whole new way. This is the point of crossing over from the negative into the 0 first, because it allows us to get our own viewpoint on why we should make that change. So even if we're at a point to where it's more difficult from the initially, now you have a new mindset that'll keep you going for a further time frame, and maybe even reinforce itself as you're reinforcing yourself. So again, your vision can be refined and deepened by, you becoming inspired by someone else, or you can inspire yourself by, your complimentary goal, your resilience, or your ability to never give up. These are the things that's happening in this card. I know It seems like I'm out there, but for those of you who are here, you're here. Those of you who just enjoy my voice, you're here too. But these are the things I really enjoy doing because it allows me to do the things that I always have done. I always do this. I get paid to do this, what I'm talking about. This here is just looking at intelligence in and of itself. Again, I coach people, I've been teaching people, I've been doing a lot of things, but it has been blessed upon me because of the spiritual pathway. It's something that I've always noticed even when I was a kid because I'm teaching the shit that niggas was testing me on. And so because I've already known it, I just didn't have the right support. Again, my parents did what they could. My grandparents really were the ones who solidified everything for me. I ain't gonna lie whatsoever. But my parents did their thing. They taught me the things that the parents needed to teach me, and then they taught me some lessons that I needed to learn about people in and of themselves, whether they're related to you or not, just how people operate. And so I learned a lot from my parents, and I learned a lot from their good sides and their bad sides because when I was with them, I accepted their bad side 100%, no problem, just like they accept everybody else's but my own. They didn't even want to accept my good side, let alone my bad side. So the idea is when I'm learning from both sides of my parents and I'm accepting them to a threshold, I don't need to not accept them any further. Again, I can reconcile them into one single thing, just called a half of thing. Parents knowing how to do the job right, or parents who don't know how to do the job right. Parents who can, parents who can't. Is Did it work or it didn't work? Is it true or not? Is it false or not? Like that's what we're talking about. Is it negative or not? It absolutes. We have to deal with these things because at the end of the day, my parents absolutely tried. They tried it their own way. I don't need to understand their method. I just know they tried to be a parent to me the best way that they could. But we tend to not know how to view ourselves. We're not looking at ourselves like the rest of the world is looking at us. We are balancing ourselves, so we're looking at ourselves from a different point of view. I don't even see what you're looking at. But that's because you are balanced on the ground and in the water, and even in this scarcity of emotional understanding. There's a little bit. And you are got that little bit, and you're able to take those balanced energies and create a brand new thought about it. Again, that's earth and water on a air card. Taking the time to really see what a thought is, the wind energy, when we start to really just be invested in being God given, invested in our own curiosities, invested in our interests, invested in why we're not interested, invested in why other motherfuckers are. Like, there are so many things to be curious about in regards to the world, and that is given to us by God. It's hard to understand the difference because God gives the ability to all people, all men. But guess what? Men create things too. So it's hard to discern the difference between what is good for you versus what is not. It's hard to discern between all the actions of my parents and how they treated me, right, versus not. Taking the time to see both and find appreciation for all things in between are the ways that we're going to start to reconcile the viewpoints that are always surrounding us, whether they're in our mind or not. This looks like people to me, other people's thoughts, projections upon you. But you're already balancing your routines, you know who you are, you have a grounded mindset, and you have a flowing emotional avenue. You know how to move across a scale. You know how to take it from not 0 to 100, 0 to 99, and everything in between. That takes time. Going back to the time frame of when we make the change. We make the change when it's the right time. So when it's not the right time, learn how to bring it down a notch or bring it up a notch. How do you take a step? Because that's the time frame that you in. You have to realize that you're not moving towards it. You're not moving. So it's going to take some steps to build some momentum. But if you're not even moving to that direction of flow, you got to understand you're in negative time. You have a deficit. You haven't been stimulated. You haven't been encouraged. You haven't been in practice. You've never experienced this. Your body isn't in the right positions to try to do these activities. You have a lot of time to make up. So don't worry about the things that aren't moving as fast as others. Don't worry about the different thoughts that you have that are around you or within you. Worry about the thoughts that keep you in this state of balance, which is on the earth and in the water, in your feelings in a grounded way. Being grounded about how you feel. Not worrying about what thoughts are going through you. Not worrying about what eyes are upon you. Not worrying about if your hands are tied. None of these things matter because at the end of the day, whatever happens, I'm going to be balanced and temperance. I'm not going to think of myself as any other way. So that's what's going to allow us to continue to make a step, because no matter where you are established on this number line called time, you can always reconcile to the zero and always alternate to the other side. But there is one thing that you must always know, and there is an absolute between the to and the fro. From here to there, you can see these things, and you can see these things everywhere. It is not difficult to understand the difference between approaching the card and leaving the card. It's one directional flow of time, but the perception upon to and fro is how we're understanding. Doesn't matter where we are, we can move towards it or we can move away from it, but it's all one motion now. We're not going to have the ability to go backwards and forwards anymore. We're now projecting those things in front of us. So now instead of laying on a flat surface doing this and that, I can now turn and move forward. I can see in a new point of view. I've changed. And so when I alternate at a 90-degree angle, meaning it's right any which way I go, I'm at what we call vector equilibrium. Again, these are real things you can study because they tried to teach you this shit in schools, but because motherfuckers didn't have enough time in certain topics, they now shit on the system that's there to give them life. So you got to come to channels and shit like this to where people who actually still want to try the best way they can, just like most teachers do, the best they can, just like most parents do, the best you can, just like most old people understand. Shit, it was the best I could. If I would change something, I would change this. Other than that, I'm here telling you that. So I guess it was still all right. That is flowing with the direction of life. But if we can change how we're perceiving it, and again, nothing on this card changes. It's still the same world. The only thing that changes is I'm going to know that I'm going to stay balanced between my emotions and my actions, my routines, and how I handle my routines. So even if this is a part of you and you making decisions upon yourself, even if this is you making decisions outside of yourself, maybe these are decisions that's going to influence others. Maybe this is a decision that's going to influence generations. It's up to you right now, and what I want you to understand is this. The more spaces you can hold for these thoughts, the better off you'll be. The more divisions you can create within yourself and around the world, the more details you can provide yourself, the more differences in levels of time and of experience that you can project upon things, the more maturities and immaturities you can see in the world, the better off you'll be at being balanced, because you'll understand who's at fault, what's at fault, what are the causes, what are the effects, how do these things branch off over here versus how do these things branch off over there versus how do these things branch off over here. It allows you to be accepting of all the changes because you know that things are changing at different rates. So the motherfucker who's super immature over here when we're all kids and now we all got girlfriends and shit, and this motherfucker still want to go off and, play games and shit, we're starting to deviate in certain pathways. But then at some point in time, that person can make a change and say, oh, well, he's still playing games and shit, but now, guess what? He got the kids and the family and the house and everything. And it's actually in a different way than us. Wow. Where did that come from? How did that happen? Well, you guys didn't spend as much time as that one person did in the gaming world, the fun life. You didn't spend that much time doing the things that just made that person happy. You guys were doing it and then you said, all right, time for some new shit, and jumped into some other time frame full time. That is you. You're living your life full time. But the way you live in your life, the way you control the life that you live in, it comes through the balance of these two things at the bottom. Again, it comes through the balance of tempering your emotions and tempering your routines and practicalities. Your earth and your water. Everyone has it. Just depends on how much you have. But no matter how much you have, value what you got. That will allow you to not care about the judgments of others, the judgments of yourself, the things that hold you back, the things that you choose to resist, the things that you obligate yourself towards, and the things that you choose to run away from. These are the things that must change. There's nobody outside of you. This is just a dream. A lot of people don't understand that card because there's no people but you. You're bound by sleep. This is the dream world. Think of it as the Twilight Zone. It's what this card means. But again, I'm telling you a lot of these meanings on a way deeper level than most because I've spent more time living and seeing this shit. These were brought to me in a way to confirm the shit that I was seeing. A tool. The same thing with crystals. These were brought to me as tools. Things that will allow me to see myself outside of myself when I need to. We call it divine timing, confirmation, angel numbers, all of those things. We say this shit, but we're not understanding the shit that we're saying. This is what I love doing when I'm teaching. When I'm teaching, I love making people put value on shit that they never gave a fuck about or even considered. It is amazing how you can just change your point of view by changing the space that you hold for a value. Changing the space that you hold for a value means adding zeros to that motherfucker, just like we gave an example of a 2 with 3 zeros. Versus a 2 with only 1 zero. $20 and $2,000 is drastically different values. $2,000 and $2 million are drastically different values. But most people only hear words, bro, but they can't see the fucking zeros. And then if you saw the zeros in front of the 2 million, again, you will start to appreciate that 2 so much more because it's in a sea full of nothingness. So, even if you only got 2 problems in your life, value those problems because they're making you change. They're giving you new ways to see. They're giving you more details about the life that you're living. I know this is typically seen as a negative card. But everything is negative if you allow it to have a positive to it too. So instead of thinking in terms of negatives and positives in a sense of good or bad, think of it as the righteous thing or not. Does this take me on the right path? That means I gotta walk a straight line because that is the only way you get a right path. A right path is made up of two stair steps or two slopes, two rises and two two rises and two runs. These stairs. That's how the stairway to heaven. Yes, it's popping up in my head right now. The stairway to heaven. It's these right angles. Again, walking up the stairs. You're walking up the stairs in a straight line. In a straight line. Again, that is the way you do it. You rise and then you shift. And then you rise up and then you shift. No matter what's going on around you, you try to take a higher point of view and then you move into the space that is revealing itself. It's always going to be a rise and run. Doesn't matter if you need to go up, two up, three right. As long as you understand you can keep a step going. As long as you understand you can put two things together to make one new thing. As long as you understand you can balance two to get to three, then you can always have the energy to keep it going. You can always have that spark. So I hope that you use this to stay soulfully inspired. I appreciate you all for listening to this one. This was a fucking serum. This wasn't a yap, but I'll see you next time. Peace.